Prabhupada ki jai. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sanyavadi Paschatyanasta. So today, in today's class, we're going a bit into the mind of Yogamaya to understand why she arranges the Leelas the way she does. There's conversations with Yogamaya, and she describes this. Krishna asks her, why you do these things? She explains. She explains what she has done, why she's done it. It's very interesting. Give us a view of the spiritual world. Maybe a lot of things we read today you haven't heard before. And it's kind of, it's like you could say, a behind the scenes of making a movie. That's the best way I would describe today's class. Yogamaya is the producer of the Leela, the director of the Leela, and she's going to show you how she's doing things and why. Hare Krishna. So, I think it's going to be amazing. But first, we'll have kirtan. Kirtan, 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 kirtan. Kirtan, kirtan. That's what they say in Poland after we finish. They kind of say that everywhere after we finish, don't they? Devotees are crazy. They want more kirtan. They always want kirtan. More kirtan, more kirtan. Too early in the morning to sing high. Chaksuru mili tamyena tasmai sri gurave namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Simate Bhakti Vedanta Shaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschachadya Satarine Paschachadya Satarine. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Narada Kanta Namostute Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Surato Pangor Mama Manda Mate Gati Matsarvasva Padambojo Radha Madana Mohana Radha Madana Mohana Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo. That is from my CD called Heart and Soul. That was you never heard me play that live. There's one other part to that. I will play for a minute, one other part. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Special day today. A little more kirtan than normal. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanande. Hari Hari Bo, Hari Hari Bo. Hari Hari Hari, Hari Hari. So we will continue reading. And we were discussing about the gopis' doubles and how Yogamaya made doubles for the gopis so that they could they wouldn't have to consort with their husbands. So I'm just trying to get to that document, but I'm being defeated in my attempts. Hold on. Okay. So I think I forgot to send this document. I got so excited this morning that I forgot to send this document out. So I have to send it now. I don't think I sent it, as far as I know. So just give me one moment to send it. Basically, yeah. I added a lot this morning, and I have to give it to Nadia and our translators. Okay, don't go away, everyone. We're almost ready. Mm-hmm. We're only a few clicks away from beginning class. Okay. It's being sent now. Now I can open it up. Now that it's sent. Okay. And we will begin reading. So, as I said, we were reading, you remember? We were reading about the gopis, the doubles of the gopis. Yeah. You're probably wondering what happened to those doubles, and were they actually like Krishna conscious, and all interesting questions. So I'm going to begin reading. And as I had mentioned before, we're not reading systematically because I'm finding things from different sections of different books. So we're often ending up with a commentary on a particular pastime, and we're not reading the whole pastime. So if we were to read the whole pastime, and not just the information about Yogamaya, it might be nice, but we might be here for the next 10 years. It might get a little too Krishna conscious for some of you. Might be a little too transcendental for some of you. Okay, so this describes, now we're reading about Krishna's going to Braj. Uddhava going to Braj as a messenger. On his journey to Braja, Uddhava had not seen how devastated Braja had become. So in other words, Vrindavan was devastated by Krishna's leaving. And it's described how, like, the leaves had dried on the trees, everything was brown, everybody was lifeless, it looked like they were on the verge of leaving their body. But when Uddhava went there, it didn't look that way. So it's explained why. On his journey to Braj, Uddhava had not seen how devastated Braja had become. Yogamaya had covered the part of Braja he traversed. And Uddhava saw Braja just as it had been during Krishna's presence. So you remember the analogy of Yogamaya as the producer and director. So she's like Narada Muni in the sense that she knows everything that's going on and she just shows up to do what has to be done. Narada Muni does a lot of instigation, and Yogamaya does more production and direction. But she knows what's best to increase the love between Krishna and his devotees, so she does those things which increase the love. And I guess she didn't want to cause pain to Uddhava, so she covered the part of Vrindavan that was devastated. So Uddhava, or would say, let's say she covered the part of Vrindavan, but wherever he went, whoever he dealt with, that was covered, so he didn't see really what was going on behind the curtain. He didn't see that. So this is a description of Krishna in Dwarka, and some of you may have heard that when Krishna's in Dwarka, he's always thinking about Vrindavan, and he's sometimes crying, lamenting to go there. And then you ask, well, why doesn't he go? Well, demons were coming every day, asuras were coming every day to try to kill Krishna. And as a consequence, they were disturbing everyone in Vrindavan, even if they were only going for Krishna. And sometimes they would also just directly disturb the Brajbasis. So Krishna thought, I need to leave. I can't go, no, Krishna. No, he left Vrindavan to take care of Kamsa. And then he thought, when he was in Vrindavan, he thought, in Mathura, he thought, I need to create Dwarka because these demons are coming here and they're harassing people. And so he also thought, well, if I go back to Vrindavan, then they'll come back to Vrindavan and they'll harass my devotees. So I have to stay out. And so now he's staying out, but he's lamenting, he's feeling separation from Vrindavan and all the Brajbasis. So it wasn't easy for Krishna either. So this, what we're going to read now, it begins with a story of Krishna lying on his bed, thinking about the residents of Vrindavan. Krishna lay crying within his bedroom. He looked like a musk doll discarded in a treasure chest. In agony, Govinda wept after his mother, in other words, for his mother. He buried his head in a soft pillow, drenching it with his tears and speaking to it as if it were his only friend. And this is what he said. Now, who will take half-chewed betel from her mouth and place them in mine? Who will correct me with sweet words when I depart from the path of proper conduct? Now who will call out, come, come, wave her arm and place me on her lap? Who will retie my peacock feather when it falls from my turban? Who will do all these things now? Who? Oh, my mother Yasoda, where are you now? We should have music for that, right? Okay, hold on. Hold on, everyone. This is too dramatic to just not be dramatic, not have music, right? Okay, we need some separation music. I have a song here. It's called Sad Winds. Now, who will take the half-chewed betel from her mouth and place them in mine? Who will correct me with sweet words when I depart from the path of proper conduct? And now who will call out, come, come, wave her hand and place me on her lap? Who will tie my peacock feather when it falls from my turban? Who will do all those things? Oh, my mother, Yasoda, where are you now? This verse was written by Sri Tarabukta Kavi. Krishna constantly lamented in this way, sometimes aloud and sometimes to himself. Krishna, who controls every atom, was now under the control of Yogamaya, his pastime potency. And she had ordained that he live in separation from the Brajbasis. So here we get an insight that Yogamaya had arranged this. She wanted it to happen this way. And she had so many plans that she would execute when the Rajbasis were separated from Krishna. And of course we see Krishna crying, but we understand that this crying is a form of ecstasy and deep affection, increased affection. And from our perspective, it seems like Krishna is suffering. And in a sense, he's suffering, but not the way we suffer. And that suffering is mixed with intense love. So it's ecstatic suffering. That's the idea. And Yogamaya wanted to create this separation because separation intensifies love. And in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, we say that separation is the highest. Oh, well, some people question it, but Prabhupada said, the feelings of separation are the most intense forms of love. So I thought this was interesting. We're reading this Leela, and we're thinking, well, Krishna's suffering. Why doesn't he go back to Vrindavan? You know, he's the Supreme Lord. How can he suffer? And then we read, no, this was all done by Yogamaya, and so whatever Yogamaya does, Krishna, in a sense, is bound. And he accepts her control, knowing that she's always arranging to increase the rasa. Here's another story. Then a ferocious demon had kidnapped the 16,100 gopis who had met by the Jamuna's shore to offer prayers for Krishna's return. So we know this story. 16,100 gopis were captured. And finally, Chandravali, a cooling moon in the sky of Krishna's heart, whose husband, Govardhan, had suddenly passed away, was taken by an unknown king to his kingdom. All those beautiful girls who were full of pure, innocent love for him were now gone. It was inconceivable. At least it was inconceivable within the mind of love-controlled Krishna, who was but a dancer in the choreography. Why can't I say this? Choreography. Is that how you pronounce it? Choreography of his own Leela Shakti. I know it's choreographed. Choreography, I guess, of his own Leela Shakti. Let me read that again. It was inconceivable, at least it was inconceivable within the mind of love-controlled Krishna, who was but a dancer in the choreography, that's it, excuse me, in the choreography of his own Leela Shakti. Leela Shakti is another name for Yogamaya. So, here, it's being said it's inconceivable, but who was it inconceivable for? It was inconceivable for Krishna. So Krishna knows everything, but Krishna forgets whatever is necessary to forget so that it will increase his love. And so now, or Krishna doesn't know, or Krishna doesn't understand what's best he doesn't know and best he doesn't understand. It's kind of like a surprise party. You know, you don't want the birthday boy or the birthday girl to know. If they know, it doesn't work. It's no surprise. So Yogamaya arranges things that sometimes Krishna doesn't know, because if he knows, it would reduce the rasa, or the love, or the emotion, whatever is necessary. And all of this is done to please Krishna, because that's all everybody does. That's all that exists in the spiritual world is Krishna's pleasure. And so Yogamaya is like the ultimate in knowing what pleases Krishna, endowed with the power to make all those arrangements. So here, she's making this inconceivable to Krishna, that the gopis could be stolen, Chandravali could be stolen. But it's necessary for the Leela. The pastime potency of Krishna is also known as divine fate. So Yogamaya is also known as divine fate. And for his pleasure, divine fate kept even Krishna and his associates oblivious of her transcendental plan, which would be full of wondrous pastimes. So this is interesting, that the residents of Braja, although it's the nature of the soul, Satchit Ananda, pure cognizance, but it's the nature of Leela that they may not be cognizant of everything. And so Yogamaya can do that. And so the residents of Braj didn't understand what was going on, didn't understand the plan of Yogamaya. And so by not understanding, they would experience various emotions. Because if they understood, they wouldn't experience the emotions. So you always see this in the Leela, there's a kind of ignorance. I don't know if we actually could call it ignorance, but there's a not knowing that is necessary for Krishna's and his devotees to relish more exchanges of love and rasa. And so Yogamaya creates that not knowing, to the point that we're hearing here that they didn't know what was going on. Interesting. It's not like you get to the spiritual world and think, oh, I got it all figured out. Even Krishna's not understanding always what Yogamaya is doing. So the question, so I'll read the last paragraph because it leads into the next paragraph. The pastime potency of Krishna is also known as divine fate, and for his pleasure, divine fate kept even Krishna and his associates oblivious of her transcendental plan, which would be full of wondrous pastimes. And what wonders did Leela Shakti have in store? Should we arrange that each Braja Gopi who had either passed away or been whisked away from Vrindavan be mysteriously transformed into a queen of Dwarka? That's a question. No, not should we. She would arrange that each Braja Gopi had either passed away or been whisked away from Vrindavan be mysteriously transferred into a queen of Dwarka. She would arrange that the pathetic grief of the gopis transform into the queen's joyful ecstasy. She would arrange that after many Dwarka pastimes, the same gopis would reappear in Braj, while simultaneously remaining in Dwarka as Krishna's queens. When Krishna went back to Braj, as we said on Monday, 4 times he went back. And she would arrange that these Braj gopis who have now become the queens or merchant the queens that form would go back. And she would arrange that upon the gopis' return to Vrindavan, not only would they begin anew their lament for Krishna's absence, but the king of Dwarka would continue to be haunted by a longing for them. Such is the inconceivable power of Krishna's pastime potencies. But the most immediate arrangement of Leela Shakti was the new role she cast for Chandravali, the second most prominent Braja Gopi. Chandravali was transported to another land where her Gopi past would be known only to her brother and father. Dressed in royal finery with thousands of maids, Chandravali was to be known as the beautiful daughter of King Bhishmaka Rukmini. These would be the ways of divine fate. And Satyabhama was Radha. So I wanted to go back. There's a point here. Yeah. So just making the same point again, it said that after Yogamaya arranges everything, the gopis would go back to Vrindavan. The queens would also stay. Krishna would still be haunted by a longing for them. So, if you look at it from a material perspective, you think, well, why is Yogamaya doing this? Because she's just putting Krishna in pain. But as we said, and should be obvious to all of us, that Yogamaya's position, as is the position of any pure devotee, is only to give us pleasure. And as a devotee progresses, they understand what will give Krishna pleasure. And so certainly Yogamaya understands what will give Krishna pleasure. So she's actually creating the emotion of separation, which is intensifying Krishna's love. And she wouldn't do it if she thought Krishna didn't want it, or this would make Krishna unhappy. So when we see Krishna suffering, we understand that actually Krishna wants this, and that's why Yogamaya is doing it. We have to understand that. Otherwise, we'll get mad at Yogamaya. Why are you doing this to my Krishna? It's not fair. Okay, so now we're reading another Leela, which reveals something about Yogamaya. And finally, in Krishna's Nara Leela, one aspect of Krishna's pastimes which is fully manifest in Vrindavan and to a lesser degree outside Vrindavan in his human-like behavior. Nara means human. So, in Krishna's Nara Leela, that means in Vrindavan, Krishna never loses his divinity, but for the sake of enjoying pastimes, at times Yogamaya causes his divinity to be covered, sometimes partially and sometimes fully. When it is covered, human traits like losing his temper as a baby in Braj when his mother neglects to breastfeed him, or his lamenting the apparent death of his father when fighting Shalva manifest. I'm sure that sometimes when you've first read these pastimes, this pastime of Shalva, and Shalva shows a fake father, a fake Nanda Maharaj. I think he showed his head, like Ravana did that also. So he showed Sita a false head of Ram and said, I've killed Ram. And then you'll read in Bhagavatam, Krishna's lamenting, and you're wondering, wait a minute, he's the one who says the wise never lament for the living or the dead. Why is he lamenting? So that's explained here. Yogamaya covers him so he acts like an ordinary human being. The other example is he gets mad at Mother Yasoda, or he's crying when Mother Yasoda is attempting to chastise him. So this is all the doing of Yogamaya. Now you're going to act like an ordinary child, like an ordinary human being. But the reason for that is it enhances the pastime in a way that makes the pastimes work to enhance everyone's love and for the best of all of us. Thus, Krishna's pastimes are sometimes called Nara Leela, human-like. The human-like sentiment he felt for Rukmini dictated to him that she was the only gopi to have survived, the one that fate had brought to him. Radhika had entered the sun, and the others had been lost or scattered to distant places. That's what Krishna was thinking. Considering all the above, Krishna's marrying Rukmini was free from fault, even though his heart still belonged to Radhika, wherever she may have been. So he thought he had lost Radhika. So look what Yogamaya is doing. Did you know she's doing all this? It's amazing, right? So here's another quote. Furthermore, Krishna, whose heart is purchased by love, could no more forget the gopis than they could him. In other words, they could forget him. He could no more live without them than they could live without him. Therefore, although he no longer lived in Braja, somehow Krishna had to find a way to again have the company of the gopis. Separated by distance and diverse duties, how could Krishna and the gopis have been reunited? Only by the potency of Yogamaya. And so Krishna had directed her to transform the gopis into the queens of Dwarka. And so, how did this direction happen? Did he speak it, or did she just know? Either way, that's how it happened. It can happen either way. Had to turn the heat up. It's a little cold right now. As you can tell by the way I'm dressed. Cold in Florida, that's not fair. It's not. It's not fair at all. It's one of the most unjust things that could ever happen. Cold in Florida. It must be one of the great sins. The great sins of nature. So now we'll read again, and then I'll take some questions. Read your comments. The spontaneous and inexplicable attachment the princesses felt for Krishna, whom they could not remember having seen and of whom they had heard very little, had impelled Krishna to find them. This is the 16,100 princes that were captured. And they had this intense attachment for Krishna. And Krishna had attachment for them, although they didn't know a whole lot about him. So this impelled Krishna to find them. Even though they were scattered throughout Bharatvarsha, he had claimed them as his wives, sometimes with the consent of their loved ones, and sometimes by the force of his arms, because he knew that's what they wanted. Thus Krishna and the gopis were to be united once again, not as Gopa and Gopi friends, but as king and queens. And of course, the married love of Dwarka Leela would be different from the paramour love of Braja. Anyway, so these gopis of Braj got to be the queens. But it's going to be different because now they're married. The love Krishna would share with his queens lacked the sweetness and intimacy of the love he had shared with the gopis. Therefore, although after long effort, Krishna would be reunited with the gopis and they would be his wives, but he would not be fully satisfied. He would long for their original Brajbasi forms and moods, and that longing would haunt him and drive him to return to Braja again and again. So this also glorifies, this glorifies the position of the Brajbasis and glorifies the position of Vrindavan, even though Krishna is surrounded by these queens, he's hankering. They can't manifest as queens the way they manifest in Braj. So something's missing. Krishna's expansion in Dwarka was not as complete a personality as that which he displayed in Vrindavan. So the original form of Krishna is in Vrindavan. Shyam Sundar, that's the original form. 64 qualities. When he leaves Vrindavan, then it's not Shyam Sundar anymore. Similarly, the gopis' expansions, Krishna's queens in Dwarka, would not display personalities as complete as those of the gopis, the gopis displayed in Vrindavan. Their forms would look the same, and in fact, they were the same persons. Yet in Dwarka, not one of them would fully manifest her unlimited qualities. So Narayan has 60 qualities, Krishna has 64. Similar thing being described here. The gopis in Dwarka, now as queens, do not manifest all the qualities they manifest in Vrindavan. The original Krishna, Shyam Sundar, remains eternally in Vrindavan in his bhava feature. And the gopis, who can never leave him, also remain there eternally with forms and personalities that complement his. To fully partake in Krishna's pastimes, therefore, the gopis would eventually coexist in Vrindavan and in Dwarka at the same time. Why not? Anything like we were discussing, I believe, on Monday, that when you approach the spiritual dimension, you can't approach it like you approach the material dimension, where things are limited and confined to three-dimensional space and subjected to the laws of physics and chemistry. There, personalities can merge and expand, and sometimes you'll read that this personality was a combination of this personality and that personality. And it's like, it's like we were saying, it's like fiction. You can dream it up. It can happen or has happened. We cannot say probably. If you can dream it up, it can happen. As queens in Dwarka, the gopis would enjoy the bliss of Sambhoga, union with Krishna. Simultaneously and inconceivably, the gopis would remain in Vrindavan and taste the ecstasy of Vipralambha, service in separation from Krishna. The forms of the gopis in Braj, however, would appear to be sometimes manifested and sometimes not, depending on the events Krishna would arrange through the agency of his Yogamaya. So we heard that they left Vrindavan and they weren't there. Now we're hearing that they're there. So what is it? Tell me, are they there or are they not there? I want to know. The answer is both. Depends on the situation. Depends what's needed. Yogamaya Purnamasi had brought a cloudburst of ecstasy to Dwarka. Suddenly, all the Brajbasis for whom Krishna had been yearning were at his doorstep. It was Yogamaya's plan to relieve everyone of their intense feelings of separation. So Yogamaya creates the separation, then she creates the meeting, then she creates the separation. Now we're getting to understand a little more about the mind and heart of Yogamaya. It's quite amazing, right? So I'm going to go to Facebook and see if you have anything to say. Aside from hello and Hare Krishna. I won't read all the hellos in Hare Krishna, but hello to all of you. So Bhakti and Leslie says, Yogamaya is part of Krishna who tricks us? No, that's Maya. Well, Yogamaya tricks you, but doesn't make you fall down. And Maya makes you fall down. Till we learn the valuable lesson that service to the Lord is work that's fulfilling. No, Yogamaya brings you to Krishna. Mahamaya makes you trip and fall and burn and suffer until you make some sense out of it. Okay. Sadhguru says, so if her brother knew about her gopi past, then why did he stop Rukmini's wedding with Krishna? Did he know about it? I don't think so. And if he did know about it, and he tried to stop it, it's only because it makes the marriage sweeter. The answer is that whatever happens by Yogamaya's arrangement. So we'll read later, or we already read, or we'll read. I can't remember because I studied this morning. I think I read this morning that Yogamaya will make you remember and forget at will. So if he knows, and now it's better he doesn't know, then okay, he doesn't know, and then it's kind of an exciting wedding. Krishna had to kidnap Rukmini, and they had a fight. It's like, this was a good wedding, And it brings them closer together. They had to undergo lots of troubles and tribulations. Isn't it? Makes the wedding more exciting, I think. Rakshasa wedding, right? Hold on. You ever get a pill stuck in your throat? You ever see a person get a pill stuck in their throat? You just saw one. Something about these pills that they get stuck in the throat. They're just, I guess they're catch onto the skin or something. Yeah, you have to throw them back. That was a good shot. I did it. 2 points for that shot. Okay, so whatever has to be done so that things will, Krishna always wants to churn the ocean of rasa. So whatever is necessary to do to churn the ocean of rasa, Krishna will do that. And if it's necessary somebody forgets, excuse me. Yogamaya will do what is ever necessary to turn the ocean of rasa, and if it's necessary that someone forgets, Yogamaya will make them forget. If it's necessary they remember, she will make them remember, which includes Krishna forgetting and Krishna remembering. That's the end. That's the right answer. We have a question from Dwarka, or a comment. Question. Can we say Mayavadis say Krishna had a human form because they overlook the existence of Yogamayas, considering his crying? Yeah, well, what's interesting, that's one reason. Yogamaya samambrita, when Krishna says, I'm not manifest, he's manifesting a material form. So when Krishna says, I'm covered by Yogamaya, Yogamaya covers him, and so you see a material form of Krishna. So nothing happens when you see him other than perhaps become critical. Who is this Krishna? Who does he think he is? Or think he's an ordinary person or whatever. So that's what Yogamaya does for those who are not devotees and Mayavadis, And Krishna, he also does that. And Krishna's... The thing you have to understand about Krishna, which is interesting, he reciprocates with the devotees. I was saying on Monday that whatever relationship you want with Krishna, you will have it, wherever it is, in Vaikuntha, in Goloka, in Ayodhya, with Ram, with Vishnu, with Krishna in Vrindavan, with Mahaprabhu in Navadvip, with Radha Shyam. You can have Krishna in Vrindavan is married if that's what you want, and Radha Shyam, which will never be married. And the most intimately, if that's what you want, it could be as a gopi, a cowherd boy, a mother, whatever you want. So we know that. Krishna reciprocates that, but the flip side is there also. If you want to see Krishna as an ordinary person, then he also says, okay. And he also reciprocates with that. And he also gives you the opportunity to see him as an ordinary person, and that's how you'll see him. Or if you don't even want to see him or acknowledge his existence, then for you, you either will never have a chance to see him, or if you do, he's just an ordinary person. He's not God. And it seems strange if you think, well, how would you feel if you actually saw God? But if you're an atheist, you wouldn't see God. You would just see an ordinary person. So that's Krishna's reciprocation. That's the covering. Naham prakasha sarvasya. Yogamaya samamrita. I'm covered by Yogamaya. What am I covering? I'm covering me as I am, so you see something else. Or you see nothing. Or you look at Krishna and say, I'm Krishna. That's who I am. I just haven't realized it. That's yeyatamam prapadyante. The sword cuts both ways. So Krishna is going to fulfill the desires of his devotees, whatever they want, whatever relationship they want. But he's also going to fulfill the desires of those who aren't his devotees. So if they don't want to believe that he is God, he'll show a form. He'll show that. He'll do something. They'll go, see, look what he did. That proves he's not God. Well, he's stealing other men's wives. If he were God, he wouldn't do that. Look, he got shot in the foot by a hunter and he died. If he's God, how could you shoot him and die? And sometimes you think, Krishna, why did you do that to this poor guy who doesn't believe in you, and you just did something that will confirm that he didn't believe in you? And Krishna says, yeyatamam prapadyante. He didn't want to believe in me. I gave him more evidence. Now I have another experience. I don't know if you have this experience, and maybe it's coincidental and just me, but it seems to me that when somebody is not favorable to Krishna consciousness, specifically parents, Krishna arranges for them to meet all the worst devotees, to have all the worst experiences with ISKCON, to get all the bad articles about every bad thing we've ever done or every stupid thing we've ever done. Somehow or other, they get all that news, they meet all the wrong devotees, the most fanatical, the most crazy, the most uneducated, so forth. And the parents that are favorable, they end up meeting the nicest devotees, reading the nicest articles, meeting the most knowledgeable devotees and like that. I don't know if you've seen that, but I've seen that. And I've also seen it happen when the parents go from negative to positive, then they get the positive experiences. So it must be yeyatam mam prapajante, Krishna reciprocating, even with ordinary people, just when they change their attitude. What do you think? Have any of you seen that before? Subhadra. Shubhadra. Okay, we have more questions. Hold on. It's time for another pill. Brain pills. Get my brain working. Two points. Okay, let's try it again. Good, because I don't have that much water. I've got to get it on the first shot. There's only one pill left. So I think that answered that question. Anurada says, is it okay to pray to Shubhadra as Yogamaya so she can manifest in our lives? Prabhupada said, Shubhadra manifest as Durga. Durga. So better pray to Yogamaya. But if you pray to Subhadra as Durga, you can pray to anyone. Give me Krishna's mercy. Or you can pray to her as Subhadra in your form as Yogamaya. Give me mercy. So you just have to have when you pray, just have the proper conception of who you're praying to, who they are, and so forth. Then it's okay. And Jyotirmai says, I was wondering, did the queens in Dwarka know who they were in Vrindavan? I think that's coming up when we continue reading, so I will wait to answer that question. We have more. Marco says, maybe it's just my speculation, but the inconceivable power of Maya yoga makes me think that the Mayavadis are in love with her without knowing it. And in the end, they love Krishna without knowing it, because he is the supreme energetic, the controller of his energy. Even if he agrees to be controlled by her, tasting sublime rasa. Well, you did say one thing true, Marco. Maybe it's my speculation. That was the true statement. And everything that came after that was not true. If you read what Prabhupada says about Mayavadis, he doesn't say that. No, Mayavadis are just unfortunate fellows, and will remain unfortunate until they surrender to a pure devotee. And until they do that, they'll be misguided, and their lives will not be good. And as Prabhupada said, eventually everybody goes back to Godhead, everybody gets love. So I can't say that they're not going to get love, but not immediately until they become devotees. Yogamaya's position is to keep Mayavadis away from Krishna because they just bother him. Keep non-devotees, just keep people away from Krishna who bother him. They'll never have a relation with Krishna. They'll just think they're Krishna. The Mayavadis will think they're Krishna. So as long as they think they're Krishna, we cannot say that. No, they're not in love with Yogamaya. They're in love with being God. Yeah. And in the end, they love Krishna. No, they love themselves as God until they meet a pure devotee. Then it changes. Till then, no. Wow, Vrindavan Leela says, my parents love going to the yearly Rath Yatra in Venice Beach. Wow. Me too. I loved that also. That's nice. Kaylee says, if a person has the misfortune of being born into an atheistic family, and so that mindset is deeply ingrained, and that person encounters Krishna, what is the effect? Krishna will reinforce their atheism, as you have said, but does even this association, with Krishna help in their spiritual development? Will they be more attracted to Krishna, more likely to believe in their next life, or will their atheism cause them to be born into a lower form in the next life? The answer is yes, yes, yes. Either one can happen. Atheism in and of itself is not a great disqualification, because many atheistic people become theistic people. Atheistic people, a lot of them are more on the side of it, being agnostic. Or they're atheists because no one showed them no one showed them logical and reasonable arguments for the existence of God. Or they have no spiritual experience. But it doesn't mean they can't have it. Now, those who are declared atheists, that they would rather die than to believe in God, those will come on the latter situation you described. But other people, not necessarily. If they meet devotees, hear from them, they can become devotees. Lord Chaitanya gave his mercy to everyone. So the answer to your question is the mercy is for everybody, but not everybody can take it. And people who are avowed atheists, there's some past to that. And people who are present-day atheists, sometimes it's said that repulsion is the other side of attraction. So it's actually covered their spiritual attraction, but they could be frustrated with their spiritual experiences. You don't know why. Just because someone's an atheist, it doesn't mean like they're a bad person or they're not spiritual or potentially spiritual. But the avowed atheist who's on a campaign to turn the world into atheists, and he becomes upset when they meet people who believe in God, then it's going to take them a while. They're going to have to rotate for some while until they get up there. Yeah. So, but ultimately, anyone at any time can choose Krishna, or anyone who's chosen Krishna can choose not to choose Krishna, because we have that free will. So a great devotee can decide to leave Krishna. A great atheist can decide to become a devotee. And that is the best way to understand. Anybody can become Krishna conscious. Anybody can leave Krishna consciousness. And so we're the anybodies who can become Krishna conscious. That's how we think. I'm just an anybody. Let me become a somebody by accepting Prabhupada's mercy. Okay. I think that's clear, right? Now, sometimes, Kaylee, in your experience, you will deal with people who are atheists and this and that, but you'll see that they're kind of like open to discuss and philosophically minded, and they like prasadam, and so they're a different category than your avowed atheists, especially some of the popular ones you see on social media. They're just if you mention the word God, their face, they look like they just ate some dirt or something. It really upsets them. And if you talk about people who believe in God, it also looks like they ate dirt mixed with some lemon peels or something. It just really, really bothers them. Those people, probably, at least in this life, they're not ready for Krishna consciousness. But Lord Chaitanya had the power to convert such people. He could do it. If you become like Lord Chaitanya, like Prabhupada, there's hope. If we become that Krishna conscious, there's hope. By our presence, we can melt their hearts. Anything's possible. but kind of that heart melting may happen. Sometimes it happens against their will. Pure devotee is so powerful, by seeing him, it could melt a heart. That's Lord Chaitanya's position. He melts stone-like hearts. Okay, we have some time to read some more. So now the next section I'm reading is, as far as I can understand, it's describing the gopis leaving Vrindavan and going to Dwarka. Radha's disappearance from Braj has been a death knell upon the three worlds, yet her absence was but a temporary plight. Listen to this. This is great. Tragic endings do not exist in Krishna's pastimes. Everything must end in transcendental bliss, is the parameter for endings in Sanskrit drama established by Bharata Muni, the Acharya of Sanskrit drama. Joy and despair may be the warp and weft of his Leela, but by the order of Yogamaya, everything must end in transcendental bliss. Warp and weft sounds quite British to me, or Shakespearean. Joy and despair may be the warp and weft of his Leela, by the order of Yogamaya. Everything must end in transcendental bliss. That's good news, isn't it? The point being made in this chapter is succinctly expressed in the last line of the summary of the 10th canto presented in Srimad Bhagavatam. And here's the quote. This chapter summarizes all of Krishna's Leelas and presents the logic of Madhurena Samay Payet, that everything ends well in transcendental bliss. Thus the pain of separation is ultimately relieved by the bliss of meeting. Yeah, and so that's good news. Everything has to happen. They live and they live happily ever after is only applicable to Krishna Leela. And the pain that they undergo is necessary. And then when they meet, they relieve the pain, and then when they're separated, the pain increases. So the meeting becomes sweeter, but the separation is sweet because they're thinking of Krishna more. So they're sweet. There's different kinds of sweetness aroused by different situations. But in the spiritual world is Ananda Maya Vyasat. It's made of Ananda. So, this world is not made of Ananda. You've probably noticed, right? It's not made of bliss. And so in this world, if you're not careful how you think, if you're not careful what you say, if you're not careful what you do, if you're not careful where you walk, if you're not careful how you drive, if you get on the wrong airplane, there's a chance some disaster is going to happen. If you don't, you say the wrong thing to somebody, then they get upset, the relationship is spoiled. That doesn't happen in the spiritual world. You can say whatever you want, it's all perfect. But if there's any pain there, that pain is just what's the word I'm looking for? A pretense. The pain is just a pretense for the Leela. So the pain of separation, it's not really pain, it's really bliss. But it looks like pain only because then when they meet, that becomes sweeter. So I think that's really important. One of the main things we get out of this is that everything in the spiritual world centers around what makes Krishna happy. And so we're learning what makes Krishna happy through the vision of Yogamaya, because she perfectly knows what makes Krishna happy. And what Yogamaya is doing, in a sense, is what all devotees will do or should do. They'll try to arrange their life and arrange things in their life that will make Krishna happy. Make their spiritual master happy, make Prabhupada happy, make the other devotees happy. So, I know, I've heard from very exalted devotees saying that the goal of Krishna consciousness is to become Krishna's slave, which, the word slave is not Doesn't have a nice buzz to it, does it? You want to be a slave? No, I thought we'll finish slavery like almost 200 years ago. We don't want slavery. But actually, that's what a devotee wants. Slave means I exist for your pleasure. Asti Shaba Paravatam Panastumam, 8th verse of Shishashtakam. I exist for your pleasure, only for your pleasure. You can love me, you can hate me, you can kill me or embrace me, but you're always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. So, when we're reading these Leelas, we always have to remember that all the devotee is thinking is, I want to do this for Krishna's pleasure. And it's important to understand that there is nothing in the heart, mind, senses, existence of these Brajbasis that has any independent desire or will other than what will make Krishna happy. And that is what pure devotional service is. So to the degree that that's how we think, to that degree we're becoming pure devotees. To the degree we have separate interests. Well, I like this and I don't like that, and I want to do this and I don't want to do that. To that degree, we have work to do. Now, we may like some service, not like some other service. We may have a choice. Fine, no problem. Do it. Get inspired. Do what you like. But ultimately, we'll come to a point someday where everything that we can do for Krishna we'll like, because the only thing that could ever possibly make us happy is Krishna's pleasure. That's it. And it's really important for us to understand that the happiness you can get from Krishna's pleasure is infinitely greater than the happiness you could get from satisfying yourself. And so a pure devotee wouldn't even think about satisfying themselves, because to them it's not pleasure. And even if it's suffering, if that satisfies Krishna, that's infinitely greater than any pleasure I could get sans the suffering, without that suffering. So that always has to be clear, that's the goal, and that's what's going on in the Leela. That's all they think about. There's nothing in them. There's nothing in them other than the desire to please Krishna. That's it. Just like with most people, there's nothing in them other than the desire to please themselves and their immediate family. That's all there is. That's what their consciousness is made of, isn't it? So the Brajbasis, their consciousness is made of what will give Krishna pleasure. That's it. And nothing else in their consciousness. Nothing else in their heart. Nothing else in their senses. No other desire. And when you have that, you're living in Anandamaya Vyasa. There's only bliss. There's nothing else. Non-bliss does not exist. That exists here, but not there. So so-called suffering, not really suffering. And being a slave, here, yeah, that's the worst thing. There, it's the best thing. Just like here, illicit sex is the worst thing. Up there, it's the best thing. Stealing another man's wife, the best thing. Down here, don't do this. Don't try this at home, what Krishna does. Slavery up there, the best thing. Slavery down here, the worst thing. It's just how it is. So you have to, reorient your thinking to Krishna Leela, and you can't reorient it based on how you think about things here, because you'll misunderstand. You have to orient it to how it is there. And these are some fundamentals. The desire to please Krishna is everything. There is no other desire, and there is nothing there but bliss. These are the fundamentals. And anything can happen there, and whatever happens there is for Krishna's pleasure, and if Krishna's happy, everyone's ecstatic. And it keeps getting better every day, which we cannot fathom how that could be. Because when was the last time that things got better for you every day? Let me think, Prabhu. When was the last time I was in Vrindavan? No, that's not a fair answer. That's the spiritual world. The question was, when did it get better every day when you were in the material world? That's hard to answer that question. Maybe on a vacation, somewhere until you stubbed your toe, on the beach, walked on a piece of glass or something. So, just the concept things could get better eternally. It's like, where is the box in your brain for that thought. You have that box? No, we don't. So by reading these and discussing these pastimes, hopefully we're building a box in your brain for the transcendental, inconceivable. So when someone says, I want to be a slave of Krishna, you go, yeah. I want to suffer separation. Yeah. I just want to do Krishna's pleasure is everything. You go, yeah, it all. Now you've got that box, so it doesn't have the equivalent. Slave, no, bad word. You know, everything for Krishna, but what about me? If I don't think about myself, I'm not going to be happy. Neglected myself, you know. Yeah. So, you know, and these things are true. We can't neglect ourselves, and we don't want to be somebody's slave. But we have to get the transcendental conception. Well, if you don't want to be somebody's slave, don't get married. Well, that's another topic. But you know, slave of love slavery. That's good. But you understand what I'm saying. You know, these negative material conceptions of ideas that are presented in transcendence, you have to erase those, replace them with the actual understanding. Okay, so let's see what else you have to say. It looks like we're going to have a confession here from Tanya. Confessions of an Ex-Atheist. Why don't you write a book, Tanya? Confessions of an Ex-Atheist. That would be great. So Rupa says, I heard a story in Srimad Bhagavatam class that once a devotee, before becoming a devotee, met with an accident and lost his memory, and then devotees helped him, took care of him. So he also became a devotee and later found out through his college that he was an atheist. Oh my God, what a story. Before he lost his memory. All right, that has to go in the book. Find out that devotee, Satyarupa. We need his story. What mercy. Wow. Can we give a amnesia pill to all the atheists so they forget they're atheists? Tanya says, ha ha ha, as an ex-atheist, I can vouch for the heart-melting quality of Krishna consciousness. Yeah. You know, I was talking last night. Oh, it's a nice story we read last night. You know the story of Ambarish Maharaj and Durvasa. So Durvasa tried to kill Ambarish, and Ambarish forgave him. And it was because of Ambarish Maharaj's forgiveness that the Sudarshan Chakra didn't kill Durvasa. So Durvasa was, you know, he was obviously overwhelmed with gratitude because he would have died if it wasn't for Ambarish Maharaj's forgiveness. And then he said, Durvasa said, now I am seeing with my own eyes the exalted quality of a devotee of Krishna. He was just amazed. And so we were talking about how when you see these exalted qualities of a devotee, it changes the heart. So as you become more Krishna conscious, you will be able to change more hearts just by people meeting you. And that, you know, they'll see you and they'll feel this person is not like ordinary people. And then they'll put two and two together. Oh, it must be the Krishna consciousness. It must be this chanting, philosophy, prasadam, and so forth. You know, if the heart melts, if the heart changes, doesn't matter who you are or what you are. Now that your heart is melted, you become Krishna conscious. So you can melt people's hearts. We have another atheist here. Now it's time we're having confessions here. Kelly is also admitting, there was a time when I was an atheist. Krishna had other plans. Oh yeah, so it's kind of like you answered your own question, Kelly. And anybody in any situation can turn and become Krishna conscious. I mean, we don't have a million testimonials like the Christians have, but the Christians have so many testimonials of people who are down and out on the bottom of the bottom of the bottom, and they prayed to Jesus and their life turned around. And I'm sure that included a few atheists. You know, God, if you're there, show me. I don't believe you, but if you're there, show me. And then, like 3 minutes later, knock, 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 knock. We have a book for you. these stories are plentiful. Anandita is asking, does this mean that Krishna will reciprocate with our beliefs about him? Yes, definitely, 100%. Ladies and gentlemen, be careful what you think. And maybe more importantly, be careful what you believe, because they manifest. Because you see, the thing about beliefs is so interesting. Donald Trump believed that he won the election, although there was no evidence to that. And he believed it because he believed that he couldn't lose. That's his belief. Because if he ever loses, he just figures out how to win. Either in court or by whatever he does, he always figures out how to win. So when he lost the election, it didn't register. He didn't believe it. He honestly didn't believe it. He wasn't making it up. He honestly didn't believe it, although that's hard to believe. And because he believed that he won, because it would be impossible for him to lose, what to speak to lose to Joe Biden, that's like, forget it. Because Donald Trump sees Joe Biden as a loser, so he couldn't imagine losing to a loser. And he said 6 months before the election, he said, if I lose the election, it would mean the election is rigged. I can't possibly lose it. That was his belief. That's how he saw it. So the election results came in. He questioned them. I think he had like 60 court cases. None of them proved anything other than he lost the election. And still, before the Congress, House, whoever does it, was to officially, formally acknowledge that Joe Biden won, he organized that march on the Capitol building to stop them from doing that. And he asked the vice president not to do it. But the interesting thing is, because he believed it, he got these other people to believe it. And we heard stories that people were going there thinking they might be killed. They were ready to give their life to that belief, which is interesting because every court threw it out. So you kind of would think if every court threw it out, and a lot of the judges were Republican, that maybe Trump is, not right. You would think like that. But they believed it. And so because they believed it, they were willing to sacrifice their lives. And unfortunately, a lot of those people are now in jail, prison for a long time. Unfortunate for their families. Fortunate for them, maybe more unfortunate for their families. So that's the problem with beliefs. Beliefs cover your reality. So if I believe something about Krishna, then that's how I see him as a reality, and then that's how I will act towards him, which is great if you have the right belief, and not good if you have the wrong belief. And it's not even, the way beliefs work psychologically, it's not even a question necessarily of Krishna reciprocating with your belief. It's automatically your psychology reciprocates with your belief, because your belief colors the way you see things, right? So what if I made up a story about you, Anandita, and I told everybody? Actually, Anandita, she was born in Iran as the princess of a royal family. She was bathed in opulence her whole life. She never wore the same dress one day or the same jewelry. Her father had 100 of the most expensive cars. They had palaces all over Iran. She has 3 PhDs. She knows how to play 15 instruments. Right? Now, if that's what we believe about you, when we look at you, you're going to look a lot different than you look right now. Not like there's nothing wrong with you now. But if we looked at you through the lens of those beliefs, you would look like, wow, Anandita. Look at Anandita. She's amazing. Oh, I have so much respect for her. I didn't know you were actually a queen. King and queen's daughter. I didn't know you were actually a princess. That means if you didn't leave Iran and come to England, you would have been the next the next queen of Iran. Yeah, wow. And she's saying, yeah, and I, rub shoulders with leaders of so many countries, and I know them on a first name basis. And even sometimes they call me and ask for advice. We'd be thinking, oh my God, so much respect for you, right? It's all a story. Just made it up. Anandita will confirm I just made it up. But as long as we look through the eyes of that story, we're going to see her through the eyes of that story. So you don't even need Krishna reciprocating with your beliefs. Your beliefs reciprocate with your consciousness because they're filters on your consciousness. So if I believe Krishna will protect me, that's how I will see him. If I believe he won't protect me, that's how I will see him. It's just the way it is. Interesting, isn't it? And now Anandita is going to reveal who she really is to us. Someday, maybe. She's going to be real humble and tell us, well, actually, it wasn't the princess of Iran. It was actually the princess of Iraq. Maybe it was Jaipur. And so go, actually, it was my mother was the queen of Jaipur. Anyway, we're waiting for Anandita to reveal. Maybe there's something there we don't know. Nadia says, listening to the stories about atheistic people, I felt so fortunate to be a devotee. It's such a rare thing in this world. All my life in KC, I've been lamenting that I'm just a neophyte. I have no proper understanding of the philosophy. I don't chant, serve purely. But now I feel so happy that at least I'm on the path of bhakti. Such a unique position. So few people take it up, the process. What to speak of their unfortunate living beings who don't even have a chance to chant one single holy name. So although I'm just a beginner, so much better than any other position. Amen. Hallelujah. Thank you for saying that. Prabhupada would tell us that all the time because we were so, we didn't get it. We're looking at Maya and thinking, man, she looks better than Krishna. And Prabhupada saying, no, this is so valuable. It's so rare. You're so fortunate. Yeah. No matter, as I said, Nadia, no matter how bad you are, pakora still tastes good. So you can still relish it. If you appreciate, there's relish and appreciation. So KB says, I feel the same way as Nadia. Often regarding being a beginner, lacking understanding, and not serving purely, it's far better to be a beginner in Krishna consciousness than to be an advanced atheist. All right, that's a good t-shirt also. We got another t-shirt there. I mean, it could be reworded, or Kelly, you could figure out how to, what do they say? Better be a bad Krishna than a good Christian. But that's kind of offensive to the Christians. Better be a bad Krishna than a good atheist. Yeah, something like that. Better be a bad devotee than a good good karmi. Karmi is we don't like to use that word. Marco says, there's no better position in all 14 worlds than to be the attempt of the servant of the servant. Yeah, we're just trying. And Krishna Karshani says, how a covered, conditioned soul can change his or her wrong beliefs about God seems to be extremely difficult. Well, the best way is through association. I mean, there are other ways, but through association is the best way. That's the fastest, most effective way. But it can come through life experience, Sometimes people give up their atheism because something miraculous happens and they're saved. So, like that. And we, through Prabhupada's books and so on, that was Prabhupada's mood was, get the books out, educate people, give people an opportunity to hear, give them the prasadam, all these things. I think Prabhupada felt like, for every 1,000 books we distribute, maybe only 1 or 2 or 3 people will really get it. But we have to distribute the 1,000 to get to those 1 or 2 or 3. But that everyone will benefit, and every one who gets a book, some seed will go in, and maybe it'll be 15 years later that seed will sprout. So, just have to keep dropping seeds. That's the idea. Mm-hmm. Tanya says, luckily for Krishna, nothing's extremely difficult. So, I would say deep down in the heart of a lot of atheists is that there is a desire to know the truth. whether the truth is God or not. If they have some sincerity to know the truth, Krishna will say, okay, let's make it happen. And it will be different for different people what they need. Okay, everyone, we will see you later. If you want to join us for japa, that's in. Well, it's going to start in 27 minutes. I will be there in 1 hour and 27 minutes. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nice to see all of you. Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol.